by the famous comedian and radio show host, Fred Allen. It illustrates how memories can fail us sometimes. And I'm here to talk to you about how to remember important information when communicating with others. Everyone has experienced lapses in memory. It's important to prevent situations like this because it can be very embarrassing. I find myself in predicaments where sometimes I tell friends, or sometimes friends tell me information that they expect me to remember, and I don't always remember it, and that can be very embarrassing. Also, stories. When I tell a story, I'll sometimes forget something very important, like where it happened. And what's the use of starting a story if you don't know the important parts of it? And I find that it really annoys me when I do that. And so I've decided to find ways to improve my memory. So to see how we can improve our memories, I've researched how memories are stored, how memory impacts everyday communication, and tools to improve it. We'll begin with how memories are stored. To understand why we forget things, we should first look at how the brain processes memories. No one knows for sure how memories are stored, but in the December 2008 Science Daily website for the latest on news, discoveries, breakthroughs in science, there is an interesting article entitled Why We Remember Important Information and Forget Trivia. Neurons synapses remodel themselves. Science Daily describes how they describe memories are stored is by, there are trillions of neurons in your brain, and the neurons almost touch each other, but where they are almost touching each other, there's a space between it called what they call as synapses, and they believe that the memories go on a downward flow like a river from one neuron to the other, and that's how they think that it happens. So now that you have an idea how memories are stored, you are ready to learn how a poor memory can affect your relationships. How your memory impacts everyday situations and its consequences. Not remembering important details that a person has shared can harm your relationship. Feelings of resentment and anger can erupt when discovering your lack of memory. In the June 2009 Psychology Today website, Art Markman, a cognitive scientist at the University of Texas, posed a question: whether most people believe that people are good at remembering important information, whether they knew it was important or not at the time they encountered it. Markman discovered a study already done on this topic. So the group he looked at, or the study he looked at, had two groups of people. The first group was a group where they told the people, or asked the people questions, and then at the end of their questioning, they asked them how much they remembered. The second group, they told the people that you'll need to remember this stuff, and then asked them the questions and found out how much they remembered. And what it turned out was it was just a little bit better the second time than the first time. There wasn't really much of a difference. And so what he discovered was that it didn't matter. People overestimated how likely someone will remember something. And so how close, another thing that can happen, or another reason why you can lose a relationship is actually how close a relationship is defined depends on how close you are to each other. So, if you're just an acquaintance, you're not expected to really know a lot about somebody's personal thing that they've just shared with you. But if you're really close and you forget, then you're in big trouble. So, upon discovering your memory is affecting your relationships, you can work at fixing the problem with these simple steps. Training your memory can create a more enjoyable experience when communicating in your relationships. In the November 2009 Psychology Today website, Alex Lickerman, a general internist and former director of primary care at the University of Chicago, claims there are 8 strategies you can use to help you remember. Lickerman's strategies listed below allow you to challenge your mind to get stronger. Number 1 is to become interested in what you're learning. So even though you're supposed to be interested in what you're learning, I have a biology book that it didn't matter how much I tried to be interested in it, I just couldn't. So what you do. Number 2 is find a way to leverage your memory. And what he means by this was, say you lose your keys a lot and you just are beside yourself and you don't know what to do to fix it. Well, he suggests that wherever you put your keys, before you set them down and you stare at it for a second and then you imagine it blowing up in complete detail. So that way, when you go to think, oh man, I don't know what I did with my keys, you can remember that they exploded on your coffee table. And you can, and it's a lot easier to help you remember. Number 3 is create a mental tree. What he means by this is, say you're trying to remember how many kids James has and what their names are. And when you create a mental tree, in your mind you create a giant branch with 4 leaves because he has 4 children. And then you could name the leaves, Caitlin, James, Owen, and Noah, and it would help you remember that James has 4 kids because there's 4 leaves. Another way, number 4, is associate what you're trying to learn with what you already know. So I do this when remembering names because I've always had a problem remembering names. And so I will take somebody who I used to know with and connect them with somebody I just met if they have the same name. Number 5 is write out items to memorize over and over. I do this when I do my world religion book because you need to remember all kinds of terms. Number 6, when reading for retention, summarize each paragraph in the margin. Number 7, do most of your studying in the afternoon. And number 8, get adequate rest. Today you have learned how your memory works and how it affects your communication with your friends and family and how to improve it. Now you have the tools needed to ensure that you get the full potential from your memory and how to prevent communicational errors and embarrassment. If you know your memory is getting in the way, strengthen it before it's too late.
Good job.